And we talked with Brian for 4 years about what we could do in the backyard.
4 years?
Yes.
Drawing after drawing. This is truly a magical space, and I remember after the pond tour, I came by just to say hi and thanks, and Wondering turned into a couple, right? Like, I think I hung out with you guys for three
love
hours. Yeah, really, whether you were here or not, I would have hung out here for 3 hours by myself.
I know.
This truly is an entire backyard that was transformed with the water feature.
Yeah, it's amazing that, you were talking before, like when people come into a backyard, what are their expectations?
Yes.
And of course, it's like, oh my gosh, look at this.
I'm Greg Wittstock, the Pond Guy. This is my channel, Greg Wittstock, the Pond Guy. And I'm with Brian Helfrich, my longest teammate for the construction. And we are at a longtime customers that got a beautiful backyard.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. We built this probably 6 years ago. And I always like coming back, even though I've seen it several times. It's so much fun to see how they've matured over time.
All right, let's ring the
Let's see
doorbell.
if they're home.
Hey guys,
Hey, how are you?
We're good.
Hey, Greg.
How are you, Greg?
You got the coffee on the pot for us?
Or the beer.
I like this guy. Now, how many years for this water feature?
6.5.
Okay.
Ish.
And the grandkids love it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Every time they're old.
You guys are in for a real treat. Let's go check this out.
Have you seen it before?
Yes, I was actually here for the pond tour a couple of years ago.
awesome.
Yeah.
Super.
We'll meet
Go
you around
back.
back. Yeah.
Super.
Now, this is a water feature that I've seen many times, but I got to tell you, this truly is an entire backyard that was transformed with the water feature.
Yeah, it's amazing that, you were talking before, like when people come into a backyard, what are their expectations?
Yes.
And of course, it's like, oh my gosh, look at this.
Here comes the killer dog.
Yeah. And they've got fantastic, fantastic dogs. You should see these guys catch a Frisbee.
The smartest dogs, right?
You should,
We are.
All right, so we got to ask you, what motivated you to make this extreme water feature? I mean, this
Brian.
is an extreme. Good, I like it. Good job, Brian.
We had the big yard, and we talked with Brian for 4 years about what we could do in the backyard.
4 years?
Yes.
drawing after drawing.
Are you serious?
Jane drew things, and we'd see Brian at the show, or we'd see him at the store,
Yeah,
we'd run
yeah.
into him at his place. Over that period of time, it was Brian really saying, and Jane agreeing, I don't know, they became two voices, saying, we got this big yard, and it's got to match the yard, or it won't look right.
Yeah, it would be out of scale,
Yeah.
right?
We had bought this house because of the dogs, because it's got this big backyard
Yep.
in Naperville, which doesn't exist. It was flat with no trees hardly other than the maple and
Yep.
a couple of the other big ones. But the best story
Yeah.
is
This is the best part.
Okay.
they had it all decided where it was going to go, and Brian came in the morning, they were going to start to dig, and said, Jane, we need to flip this. We need to have it going from here down to that way instead of the other way, because we thought we wanted
It works
the
perfect.
big falls there
Yeah.
to be able to be seen from the patio, and Jane said, yeah.
That's awesome. And that's the
Yeah.
trust that comes with it. But that's what we love. We love to be able to have customers that'll give us that freedom that we can come at the day of the build and just say, let's start the waterfall over here instead of here. And it works because I never knew that story. And every time I've been here, I've always thought it's a perfect design. So
It
works.
was.
So how did the fire pit come
Well,
then?
the fire pit came up because Brian, where did we dig to build up the hill because the ground was flat.
Ah, so that was just an after.
So
after.
we had the soil from the
There's the brains.
yeah.
Hey, kiddo.
Looking as good as ever. We were just telling the story, which I hadn't even heard before, about the day of the build, flipping the waterfall and putting everything reverse.
I'd drawn it about 4,000 times and could never quite get it. We thought, okay, here's an idea. Brian came, we walked it, and he said, so why don't we reverse it? It just seemed right.
That's
I said,
awesome.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so I have to ask this question. What do people that come to your yard for the first time, because they're not expecting to see this?
Our neighbors.
Yeah. What do they say when they see this masterpiece you have in your
Well,
backyard?
just kind of say, oh my gosh.
How could you not? Every time I've seen it, and I've seen it a lot of times, and I built it, you're
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh.
We had a block party. It was late after dark, and the kids all went in, and I brought every Tupperware thing I had in the house, and they collected tadpoles.
And that's nature in Naperville.
They will never forget that because we had the underwater lights, and that was
that's gotta be
that was a big deal.
When people say to you, how much work is this? What do you say to them?
You know, we have about 2 long weekends in the fall cleaning up
Leaves.
because Jane doesn't really like to put the net over because
not pretty.
It's not pretty.
Mhm.
And then it's an hour a week maybe, and
Nice.
that includes the picking out the weeds.
You're talking about the whole feature. So
Right.
an hour a week with the weeding and the landscape. Do you spend more time with the landscape or more time with the pond?
The pond is pouring bacteria in
Yep.
and a little algae stuff, and walking through and stirring the water up and rearranging rocks, but that ends up being more like playing, sure,
Exactly.
than working.
It's therapeutic.
We only rearrange after the kids have been in it because they tend to kind of push things around a little bit. But
But that's good. We want the kids to be in it.
yeah,
How do the pups enjoy it?
They love.
I had thought about having a little wading thing to wash their feet when they get muddy in the spring. I just tell them to go get in the water, and they just walk through, and all the mud comes off.
Look at the concentration. So one of the things is we like to showcase how people live the aquascape lifestyle. But the aquascape lifestyle encompasses more than just the water feature because it's the space around it that you get to enjoy it from. And this space that we're sitting in here right now, like what's the story behind that?
We had a deck about half of this size, and we talked about what to do here. Then it went from expand the deck, expand the patio, put in the pergola, add the fireplace.
That is called living the aquascape
And
lifestyle. The water feature starts everything. Then the rest of the landscaping develops because you're outside enjoying it.
Right.
You want to be outside. I say a water feature is the only form of landscaping that will suck somebody outside like a vacuum cleaner and deposit them in the backyard, spend hours on end. And if you're out there, you're going to want to improve the rest of the environment.
And of course, then knowing I was retiring, put the bigger grill in the back and added the TV, and so I can come out at 5:30 in
And
the
the
morning
heater,
with the
he has
dogs
his personal heater over there.
and stay out here all day long.
heater, yeah.
This is truly a magical space, and I remember after the pond tour, I came by just to say hi and thanks, and wondering turned into a couple, right? Like, I think I hung out with you guys for three
We
three
love
hours,
that.
right?
So
That's
much
actually,
fun.
truthfully, that's actually our favorite thing. Is just going back and get to enjoy the water features and the people that we get to work for. Because when you're there working, we want to come back and enjoy the lifestyle that we create for others.
Yeah, really, whether you were here or not, I would have hung out here for 3 hours by myself.
I know. Well, you know the gate's always open, and you know where the beer is downstairs. So
Now I know that you have a grandchild with disabilities, and you were just telling me this story.
So one of the things Brian and I talked about was having rocks that were flat enough and secure enough the kids could walk around the edges.
Yes.
And then also a bridge that was wide enough that if Sam still needed a walker, he could get across it. And he doesn't anymore. He can walk independently, but we made an entrance into the pond with him in mind. And that's over here. I told Brian what I kind of wanted it to be like, and then he took over. He
Literally
has
could come in here and
Yeah.
sit right down if he wanted to and just splash around.
Right. So he feels like he can go in at his own pace, and it's secure, and it's got levels.
This is called living the aquascape lifestyle.
like you said, I'll sit here in the morning, I'll sit here in the evening, I'll sit down there when I really would just want to be by myself, or if we're roasting marshmallows. And that one over there is sort of reading.
Yeah,
You know,
yes.
because the view of the pond from there is different than it is from there, and the sound is different.
And that's what makes our jobs fun, is knowing how people are going to adapt and learn to live with a water feature, because it's always changing. Every day you look up, you look out and see what's going on in the backyard.
You know, we go up to Aqualand and see the sample ponds now that you put together so people see different ideas.
Yes.
They're really cool. But when people were here for the pond tour, what we could point out is they're up there is one set. Down here is another set. Here's a third set of those ponds. It's just
Yep.
little pieces put
Even
together.
as far as the fourth being just the bubbling rock over
Exactly.
there,
Yeah.
right? Like, you might not have the space to do all of this,
Right.
but look at how great this, and the sound of water that comes off of just the simple rock that's drilled out
Yeah.
with water coming over it.
Well, what we
Yeah,
like
that
to
was
say
fun.
is every water feature is a unique work of art, one of a kind, custom creation, as is evidence here. But the process to build it remains remains the same. I have built this pond, Brian's built this pond 1,000 times before. This element here, this element here, this element here. Because we're not trying to figure things out how to do it, we can spend all of our time on the creative aspects, the fun aspect, that last 10% that makes all the difference in the world. But the process to build our water features, 20 products in 20 steps, is what this is all about.
Well, we love it. We appreciate what Octoscape did and Brian's design work and
I taught him
your
good,
support.
didn't I?
It's great that we all laughed.
So Brian, what actually made you decide to, the day of the build, flip this waterfall?
Well, there's a couple things. Their yard is more of a kind of a trapezoid shape,
Yep.
and there's way more space on this side.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to leave the wider parts of the yard left for the dogs.
Okay.
Right? And then the waterfalls over here where it was a little bit more narrow.
This sunken area is so neat.
Anytime we can create elevation in a relatively flat backyard.
Yeah, this is a flat backyard.
We dug down here, we built up here. The drainage for this patio actually goes underneath all this and comes back out on the low area there.
And we're standing here right now, not 15 feet, but I can't see where the waterfall starts.
Yeah, and so the biofalls is actually sitting behind that. So I think so many times people aim the biofalls in the direction they want that main waterfall. Where here I wanted to hide it.
Yep.
Right? And so there's a very insignificant waterfall that comes out of the biofalls, comes into a pool, and then the main waterfalls are here.
Right.
And how about this waterfall? Isn't that cool? Like
Huge boulder.
big boulder, and I just took it and we leaned it backwards, and then you get the natural split around it.
So as we're walking here, it draws you. You just want to keep going and seeing where it goes, because I'm standing here once again. I don't see where it spits off over there.
And how about these bridges?
This is from Aqualand.
This was the inspiration on how we did the
Oh,
Aqualand one.
that's funny.
So we did these first. This is Israeli cedar.
Okay.
And so it's actually, it looked, as much as it looks like it's one solid cut out of a tree,
Yeah.
we had our carpenter join them here and here.
Well, I'm just going to keep walking this way because it just draws you around the bends. I love that.
This whole area was designed as more of a wading pool for the grandchildren. And you can see the big flat rocks and easy ways for them to get in. That sloped rock right by you allows them to gently walk in that way. And so they love coming in here and hunting tadpoles and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
like the neighbors too, yeah. And they just want to jump. Woo! But look at this rock. Come here, check this out. All of this rock comes from Missouri. We don't use a single native stone from Illinois in a project like this. Look at the sedums and the mosses, and look at even a little pine tree that's growing here.
And this is 100% them. This is where the homeowners come in, and this is the difference between maybe a true hobbyist and somebody that just has something back here. They love playing with this. And Jane does such a good job. Like, look at this rock behind you. She planted this day after we built it, and now it's just kind of spreading and growing all over the place. So this one's actually called weathered limestone. So we have a combination of weathered limestone and moss rock on this project.
Yep. And then, of course, this is one of your big things is there's a bridge, but what does the bridge go to? Well,
Another viewing area over here.
another viewing area or a lounge area that I just want to sit down in. And look, a whole nother hidden waterfalls that you see only when you come to this side.
Yeah, that waterfall is actually really cool. And just like you said, you don't discover it until you've crossed the bridge.
Yeah. I would want to come out here and have my morning coffee or my evening drinks just sitting back there.
Have you ever seen the bubbling rock we put out here?
Yes, it's over here. Explain how this happens. I mean, we've already got a yard with how many tons of boulders?
You know, there's probably 40 to 50 tons of
50
rock.
tons of boulders, and then you still add another water
Yeah.
feature on this side.
Look at this one. Like, look at the sheer size of this rock, Greg. This is every bit of a 5,000 pound rock. 2.5 ton boulder here. And it looks like it's been here for 1,000 years because the way they planted it and let all the sedums and stuff grow all over it.
And that's how you know you're a pond guy, when you get excited about rocks. Finally, the final waterfall, and this holds all of the mechanics of this.
Yeah, so the pumps sit down in here. Basically, it's a large pondless waterfall.
Uh-huh.
And so I think a lot of people think a pondless waterfall is this small, little intimate thing that sits off the edge of a patio. You can make it as large or as small as you want.
So it's filled with aqua blocks. You got your snorkels, your centipedes, your pumps, the plumbing. And once again, you don't see 1 inch of plastic, 1 inch of rubber, 1 inch of pipe. It looks like it's come straight out of nature. And then, of course, 20 feet away, what do you have? And how did you decide to add this? You wanted a place to play with your trucks?
Yeah, I want a place for my trucks. The grandchildren come over here and play in the sandbox and everything else, and just to have the little element of water over here. But there's a rainwater harvesting system underneath this, and so they have a booster pump back in over here, and they can use it to water their plants.
Yep.
And for us not to have a little water come out of the rock seemed like a waste of possibilities.
Put a little bit of moss, and then it
Yeah.
will just keep growing and naturalizing.
This is where this stone is cool. This water disappears and then reappears down here in the bottom.
Yeah, that's just so nice.
I love working with this rock.
It's probably been 2 years since I've been here, and I'm watching how much bigger this juniper is. And this is, of course, what you do with the plants on the sides, is you want the plants to grow into the rocks so you soften up. That's probably a 500-pound boulder there, but it only looks like a 150-pound boulder because this juniper is growing in and covering it.
We spend so much time and effort carving all these boulders into place, and I always tell our customers or the landscapers, I want you to attempt to hide those rocks. And when that plant comes and creeps over the rock, that's when it looks like it's been here forever.
You don't want to know where the water ends and the land begins. That's how you landscape a water feature. Well, this is fantastic. Once again, I always enjoy coming out to the Kraus house to see this water feature. And as always, there's something new, a new element to discover. Man, I love my job. Hey, if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and follow along as we get to journey and see awesome water features, cool people. And this is why I love my job. Good stuff.
Let's go see another one.
All right.